It's a nice media console. Wish I could have that at my house. In this video, we're going to take this media console and the virtual world of Rainbow Six Siege and we're going to bring it to reality. So let's go. I started off this project by breaking down my 4x8 walnut veneer sheet of MDF using a track saw. Yes, I used veneered MDF to make this media center, only because my local lumber store didn't have walnut plywood available, and solid walnut would have been too expensive. After cutting my big 4x8 sheet into smaller pieces, I used a table saw to get my final size. The media center in the video game has mitered corners, so I went back to the track saw and set my angle to 45 degrees to achieve the mitered corners. I used a scrap piece of plywood, set it behind my track and clamped it down so that the track would not move while running my saw across. This worked out surprisingly well. I decided to add some strength to the mitered corners by adding a spline using 1/4 inch plywood. I set the table saw to cut at 45 degrees and ran my mitered corners at the appropriate height and depth. I also rabbited what would be the back of each piece to accept a 1/4 inch back, also using the table saw. After dry fitting my box, I took measurements for 2 dividers and cut them to fit, removing an extra 1/4 inch from the back to leave room for the back panel. I guess I haven't mentioned it yet, but I'm going to be using melamine for the white pieces of this build. I had a lot of it left over from my last video. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you check it out. I'll show you how easy it is to add doors to any bookcase. These corner clamps really came in handy during the glue up, and the splines made aligning the boards so much easier. I'll leave a link down below in the description to these clamps and anything else that I used in this video, so make sure you check that out. Once I have my box together, I measured and cut my back to fit. Enjoying what you're watching? Please consider hitting the subscribe button and like button, it really helps the channel grow. I used a 2-foot spacer to make sure my dividers are placed appropriately, making sure they were squared. I ended up using pocket holes and glues to attach my dividers, making sure the pocket holes are facing each other. That way they will be covered up by the drawers and you won't be able to see them. While the glue dries, I got some leftover plywood to make drawer boxes. I won't go into too much detail on how I make drawer boxes in this video, but I will leave a link to a video in the description if you are interested. Uno, dos, tres, done. To get my drawer fronts, I cut a piece to fit where my drawers are going to be, leaving an 1/8 of an inch gap on each side. Once I have that, then I can cut that into 3 drawer fronts. The blade thickness will give me a gap in between each door without having to measure anymore. I made a quick jig to help me place my door pulls in the right and same spot on each door. If you're wondering why I didn't edge band the walnut MDF before cutting and gluing, well, that's because I didn't have it until the day after I started this project. I used the old card trick to space and align my drawer boxes evenly. Adding screws to the holes I drilled for the drawer handles, this will hold the front to the drawer boxes until I can add screws from the back to secure them. Alright, so it's pretty much finished other than edge banding this drawer right here and this door. Also have to add the white trim around this door here and finish it off. But for the legs, I'm going to be using this 2x12. Actually, I had this laying around out back, so I don't have to spend any more money on that because lumber is really expensive right now. So I'm just going to rip this down, clean it up, and make my legs out of this 2x12. I made a template of the leg with some 1/4 inch MDF and traced the shape onto the 2x12. I was going to use a jigsaw then trim it with the flush trim bit on the router, but I ended up using my track saw to cut to my line. I just lined up the edge of my track saw to the line and I was good to go. Man, I cannot believe it took me this long to get a track saw. If you don't have a track saw, what are you doing? Pause the video and go buy one. There's a link in the description. By far my favorite tool in the shop. I added 4 stretchers in between the legs using pocket holes and wood glue. To keep the doors from going all the way into the cabinet, I added a small spacer block for the doors to hit. I just used a cutoff piece to space it correctly. I decided to add walnut edge banding to the top edge of my drawers to give it a more custom look. I'm sure this is how it looks inside the video game, but we won't know. We cannot forget the white accent on the wood door. I actually used edge banding to complete this look. After adding some finish, we have ourselves a replica of the Midas Center from the video game Rainbow Six Siege. Let me know what furniture piece or item from any video game I should do next. Send me a DM on my Instagram, and who knows, I might do it next. But that's it for me guys. If you liked the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, also hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.